Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to the latest and potentially last episode of the season from GITBTV. I know I keep telling everyone that this is it and I'm going to have a rest, but people keep inviting me to Wembley. But this should be the final one of the current season because the Sky Bet League Two playoff final was this past Sunday, which means now I can finally bring you my Sky Bet League Two team of the season. I think it's fair to say that League Two was probably as strong as it's ever been in 23-24. If you look at the teams that have gone up, Stockport, Mansfield and Wrexham, they'll all probably be competitive in League One next season. If you look at the teams that have missed out in the playoffs, the like of MK Dons, Crewe Alexandra and Doncaster Rovers, they all had good seasons, especially Doncaster, the definition of the season of two halves. But there's plenty of good players that are going to miss out. So I've cheated a little bit. It's not just a team, it's a squad. So I've picked 18, so obviously 11 starters and 7 substitutes. I've tried to make it a functional 11 rather than just a fantasy 11. There are a couple of positions where I've slightly cheated, of course, because the players I feel just need to be in the side. So I'm going to go through each one individually, and then of course we'll wrap it up with my manager of the season. We'll of course start in goal and work our way from back to front. Now, there were plenty of good stoppers in League Two in 23-24, so I could have picked plenty. Unfortunately, it is that one position on the pitch where you can only go with one. So I went with a man who did win the league title. That does give it away. I'm talking about, of course, Ben Hinchliffe of Stockport County. Hinchliffe played every single game in the league, all 46 games. He kept 17 clean sheets. He's surely a club legend now, having made well over 300 appearances since he joined when they were a non-league side a few years ago. And he is the first Stockport player to win 3 different league titles in different divisions. So that is my goalkeeper of the season. Stockport County's Ben Hinchliffe. It's going to be a back four for my team of the season. So I'm going to start at right back and make my way across. And this is one of those players where I'm going to play him slightly out of position compared to where he actually operated for the majority of the season. It's not a role that he can't do, but he did, I think, operate majority as a right-sided centre-half. I'm talking about a player that was deemed not good enough by my own club, Gillingham, back in the summer of 2023 and was allowed to join playoff winners Crawley Town. There might be your clue. He played pretty much all season, like I say, as a right-sided centre-half. A couple of times he did operate at full-back. I think there was a couple of games in the middle of the park as well. He amassed 4 goals and 9 assists throughout the season, kept a clean sheet in the playoff final. I'm talking about Crawley Town's Will Wright. Right-sided centre-back is next in my lineup, and this is a man who, again, won the title. So that probably gives it away. Everybody needs this type of player, this type of defender, leader in their team. Someone who just is super strong in the air, solid on the deck. And like I say, along with his teammate Ben Hinchliffe, he provided a very, very solid base for his Stockport County team. I'm talking about Fraser Horsfall. He kept 17 clean sheets throughout the season. He missed just 1 league game en route to his side winning the title. So my first centre-back in my team of the season is Stockport County's Fraser Horsfall. Move across to left centre-back, and it is a man that was deemed surplus to requirements by his club Newport County last summer. He then went on and joined Crewe Alexandra, and he very nearly took them all the way to promotion. Not only was he good defensively, as he amassed 14 shutouts, but he also contributed at the other end of the pitch with 9 goals and 6 assists from centre-half. He may be getting on in years now, I think he's 34 or 35, but this man probably had a campaign that deserved more than Wembley heartache. My second centre-back is Crewe Alexandra's Mickey Demetriou. Left fullback is again a position where there was plenty of options throughout division, but I went for a man who joined his club in the summer, and unfortunately for him and his team missed out in the playoff semi-final as they were humbled by Crawley Town. So that narrows it down. It has to be an MK Dons player. He is very, very good. He's always on the front foot, this man, when you watch him play, and I think you have to be that type of player to play in a Mike Williamson side. He was excellent. That is the bottom line throughout the whole campaign, especially after Williamson took over from Graham Alexander. 7 goals and 6 assists plus 7 shutouts means that my choice for left back in my team of the season is Joe Tomlinson. Into midfield we go, and I've gone for a midfield trio for my team of the season. And this player is some story and some journey that he's had. 28 years old now. ended up at Crawley Town in the summer via Reading, Feyenoord and Rochdale. It's not the conventional journey of a professional footballer in League Two. He joined a side that were essentially tipped by pretty much everyone, experts and myself, to get relegated. They were never in anyone's conversations to get promoted via the playoffs or otherwise. But Liam Kelly has simply thrived in the middle of the park for Scott Lindsay's men. 6 goals and 12 assists, including 2 goals and 3 assists in the playoffs themselves, capped with the clincher at Wembley Stadium just a few days ago, means that he will now be playing in League One in 24-25. So my first midfield pick is Crawley Town's Liam Kelly. Right side of my midfield trio is a man who is synonymous with his surname. He has a brother that has won promotion from this division as well. He has a dad who has played for Newcastle United and England. I'm, of course, talking about Wrexham's Elliot Lee, who had another stellar campaign and made it back-to-back promotions, having won the National League last season as well. Yes, scintillating early season form from Elliot. He had 10 goals before the end of October, and he ended up with 16 in total, as well as a further 6 assists. And like I say, that secured him and his club back-to-back promotions. I think, without being rude to other players, he's just too good for League Two, and that's no disrespect to the level, but I think he's a player that should be playing League One minimum, potentially Championship. So yeah, my second midfield pick is Elliot Lee. Finally, in midfield is a slightly different one. It is my first player to be included who did not finish in the top 7 in the regular season. I just think at any level, semi-professional, non-league, professional, if you are hitting double figures for goals and assists in the same campaign, then you're a very, very good player. This player is certainly one of those. At times, it seemed like he could single-handedly drag his club to the playoffs, but ultimately, his Saddlers side ultimately fell short. But yeah, 12 goals and 11 assists means it was another very good season for Isaac Hutchinson. So he is my final pick. And yeah, I think it could be a summer where Walsall will do very well to stave off interest from higher up the football pyramid. So yeah, that completes my midfield trio with Walsall's Isaac Hutchinson. Now to the 3 players that grabbed the headlines, that grabbed the goals, that ultimately grabbed the glory. And first up is a one that I'm going to be playing slightly out of position as a right-sided attacker. We'll try and tuck him in a little bit as possible. An unbelievable campaign. There's no other word for it. A staggering 32 goal contributions in League Two. Didn't miss a league fixture. Didn't play every single minute, but was involved in every single game as the Stags finished in the automatic promotion places. It was 22 goals and 10 assists if you break it down properly. I am, of course, talking about Mansfield Town schemer Davis Keillor-Dunn. So yeah, he's my first attacking pick. On the left-hand side, if his club had recruited better defensively instead of relying on the same players that got him out the National League the season before, we might be talking about another player who'd been promoted again. But unfortunately for this man, his club's form fell off the edge of a cliff from midway or 2/3 of the way through the season. His individually didn't though. 24 assists is an absolutely ridiculous number. It's a new league record. On top of that, this man scored 6 goals of his own. 33 big chances created in 43 league appearances. And like I say, if his club had recruited better, maybe if they'd not lost their manager halfway through the campaign as well, that might have had an effect. I am, of course, talking about Notts County's Jody Jones. My final position is centre forward. And I think if you look at this player's form over the last few seasons, up to the beginning of 23-24, certainly from the outside, and maybe fans of his club as well, wouldn't be expecting him to have had anywhere near the campaign that he has just had. From the beginning of 2021 up until the end of 22-23, this man had scored 5 league goals in 58 appearances. In 23-24, he scored 23 and added 4 assists. He scored a hat-trick in the playoff semi-final second leg. He scored the opener in the playoff final at Wembley. And he is probably the very best example of someone who, with a little bit of good coaching, a little bit of luck, a bit of hard work, and essentially a combination of all 3, can become a very, very good footballer. And it also shows that there are people that can be plucked from non-league level that can go on and thrive in the Football League. I'm, of course, talking about Crawley Town's Danilo Orsi. Right, the substitutes. First up is my sub-goalkeeper, because you have to have one of them on the bench, really, in the modern game. He's a player that joined sort of a month into the season, I think, and if he played all season, I might have been having him in my team of the year, but such was the form of Ben Hinchliffe, but this man just misses out. He played 36 games, he conceded just 30 goals, and he kept 14 clean sheets. So I'm talking about Wrexham's Arthur Okonkwo. My substitute right back is a player who played in 44 league games this season. He contributed 13 clean sheets. There was 4 goals and 4 assists, including a winner against my team at Valley Parade at the start of April. Unfortunately, like I say, if it wasn't for the promotion of Will Wright, this man might have been my first choice right back, but that was what swung it for me. But my backup right back is Bradford City's Brad Halliday. My central defender who makes the bench is a player that featured for my team. He was the player of the year for my team. Up until about the last or second to last game of the season, he was joint top scorer for my team. I am talking about Connor Masterson, who played 41 league games for Gills this past season. He contributed 11 clean sheets, 6 goals and an assist. My substitute left back is a young man who went all the way to Wembley in 23-24, only for him and his club to fail at the final hurdle, unfortunately, but he definitely has a big future in the game based on the recent campaign. He has played 49 games in total, which means he didn't miss a single league fixture, including the trio of playoff fixtures. There were 13 clean sheets along the way. There were also 4 goals of his own and 7 more assists. I am, of course, talking about Crew Alexander's Rio Adebisi. Central midfield, I've tried to go with someone that might provide a little bit of solidity. Trying to be functional, like I said, would come on and hopefully protect the lead because we've got good players in the 11. It's the second player who features for my club. He won Players Player of the Year for Gillingham in 23-24. He's still very, very young. There is still plenty of improvement in him, but he played in 43 league games for the Gills, kept 14 clean sheets. He did not notch a goal of his own, but I can't see it being too long before one does go in for him. But there were 3 assists. I'm talking about Ethan Coleman. My backup winger is a player that didn't even join this club until the January transfer window. Such was the impact this individual had on his team. I think they were in a relegation battle in February. I think they were 20th at the start of March. But this man come in, along with a goalkeeper and a centre midfielder as well, for Doncaster Rovers. He played 21 times and contributed 9 goals and 7 assists. And his season deserved to end on a higher note than missing a penalty in the shootout in the semi-final defeat of the playoffs. I'm, of course, talking about Doncaster Rovers' Hakeeb Delacoon. Final place on the bench goes to a striker who has had a stellar 3 or 4 years, having left Cambridge United to drop firstly into the National League. He's had 2 ridiculous seasons at that level, and the goal scoring has not stopped in League 2, so it'd be great to see how he goes back in League 1 next season. 38 games, 24 goals, 8 assists, promoted automatically. I'm, of course, talking about Wrexham's Super Paul Mullin. Finally, I am looking at manager of the season. Now, of course, there were plenty of standout candidates. If you look at the automatic teams that went up, obviously you have to look and consider Dave Challinor, Phil Parkinson, Nigel Clough. All 3 of them had absolutely brilliant seasons with their teams. Pete Wild, if his side had ended up staying in the playoffs, you'd say they're probably overachieving again. Grant McCann took his team from basically the relegation zone to the playoffs in 3 months, a staggering upturn from March onwards. But for me, there can only be one man that wins it. He was actually linked to my club back in the autumn when Neil Harris was sacked. Various rumours as to why that didn't happen. He took over Crawley Town at the end of 22-23 and he kept them up. He was then backed by everyone, like I say, including myself, to struggle with his team in 23-24. I had them to finish bottom in my pre-season predictions video. He has done an absolutely remarkable job and he has done it playing absolutely brilliant brand of football. I'm, of course, talking about the man who experienced Wembley glory just a few days ago. My manager of the season for Sky Bet League 2 is Scott Lindsay. That is my Sky Bet League 2 team, squad and manager of the season for the 23-24 campaign. It's been an absolutely brilliant season, regardless of where my team finished, which was slightly disappointing come the end of the year. But I just think there's been so many good sides. There's been games where results have been unexpected. There's been players that you don't think would thrive that have done so. There's been teams that have overachieved, underachieved. Just a really, really good campaign to follow. Obviously, my content is mainly Gills, but I do keep an eye on the division closely as well. So thanks for watching up to this point. If you can, consider subscribing. It'll be absolutely brilliant as we chase down 3,200 subscribers. There will be a competition giveaway on the June the 1st, which means you can win a club shirt of your choice from your team's club shop, which I will pay for. But you do need to be subscribed. Yeah, again, thanks if you are watching at this point. Thanks for everybody who supported the channel, watched, shared, commented, disagreed, agreed throughout the season. I really do appreciate it, because without you, I've said it a million times and I'll say it a million more, it's just me talking into my phone. So that concludes, finally, the 23-24 campaign in Sky Bet League 2 with my team of the season. Have I got it right? Have I got it wrong? I imagine it's the second. I'm sure some of you will agree with me. I'm sure there's plenty of you that won't, and that is the beauty of it. So let me know in the comments, reply on social media once it's out on there, and let me know who I've got right, who I've got wrong. But please bear in mind, it is just my opinion. Right, I'm definitely, he says, going to have a little bit of a rest now before the content ramps up as 24-25 starts to come into view in a couple of months. But as I said, thanks for all your support. And until next time, up the Gills and enjoy your summer.